Picture this. You wake up. No phone, no map, no Google, no GPS, no sense of what country you're in or where your continent ends. You walk outside and in every direction. Trees, mountains, ocean, and nothing else. No roads, no borders, no names for any of it. That's not a nightmare. That's Tuesday. For 99% of human history, that was just life. So here's the question. What did ancient humans actually think the world looked like? Did they know it was round? Did they even think about it? And when they finally started drawing maps, what did they get wrong? The answer is one of the strangest stories in human history. And it tells us more about how we think than about where we live. Let's go back to the beginning. We're talking 300,000 years ago. Homo sapiens just showed up. And for the first couple 100,000 years, most humans never traveled more than about 30 miles from where they were born. That's it. 30 miles. A single day's drive on a highway, but for them, it was the entire world. Think about that. The world wasn't planet Earth. The world was the valley you lived in, the river you drank from, the hill you could see from camp. Everything beyond that? Basically mythology. Other groups existed over that ridge. Strange animals lived past the river, maybe monsters, maybe gods, maybe nothing at all. Nobody really knew. And most people were too busy surviving to find out. But here's the thing. Even with that tiny slice of the world, humans were mapping it, not on paper, in their heads. Cognitive scientists call it a mental map. And it turns out the human brain is extraordinary at building spatial models of its environment. We track paths. We remember landmarks. We know instinctively where the sun rises and sets. Even without a single written word, early humans had detailed, accurate internal maps of their territory. The San people of southern Africa, one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth, navigated vast territories using nothing but oral memory, stories, songs. Walk toward the red rocks until the ground changes color, then follow the dry riverbed south. Hundreds of miles of direction stored entirely in the human brain. No paper required. That was the first map. It lived inside people. But then something changed. Around 25,000 years ago, someone decided to make it external. The Pavlov Hills of the Czech Republic. Archaeologists digging there in 1966 found a small piece of mammoth tusk, roughly the size of your palm, carved into it, a pattern of lines, curves, a river, maybe, hills, a valley. It's one of the oldest known maps ever found. And it's not a diagram, it's a picture of a place, a real, specific landscape. Somebody looked at their world and said, I want to remember this. I want to share this. Here's what makes that important. That tiny carved tusk means humans weren't just surviving in the world. They were thinking about it, abstracting it, trying to understand it from above, even before they could see it from above. That's a remarkable cognitive leap. And it's one of the things that makes us genuinely weird as a species. Fast forward to about 6,000 years ago. Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent. Humans have figured out farming, cities, writing, and now they're trading across long distances. And when you're sending merchants hundreds of miles away, you need something more than a song. So they made clay tablets. And on those clay tablets, they drew the world as they understood it. The most famous one, the Babylonian map of the world, created around 600 BCE, shows Babylon at the center of a flat disk. A circle of ocean surrounds everything. A few named regions radiate outward like slices of a pie. And beyond the ocean, triangular spikes labeled distant regions. Places so far away that even the Babylonians weren't quite sure what was out there. Here's the kicker. Babylon is right in the middle. Of course it is, because to the Babylonians, Babylon was the center of civilization, which honestly, from their perspective, wasn't entirely wrong. Every ancient map ever made puts the mapmaker's home at the center. Every single one. The Chinese did it. The Greeks did it. Medieval Europeans did it with Jerusalem. And if we're being honest, we still kind of do it. Have you ever noticed that most world maps you've grown up with put your country pretty close to the middle? Turns out, cartography has always been a little bit political. Now, did ancient humans know the Earth was round? Some of them, yes, and earlier than you'd think. Around 500 BCE, Greek philosophers, Pythagoras, then later Aristotle, started arguing the Earth had to be a sphere. Not because they'd seen it from space, obviously, but because of observations. The shadow Earth casts on the moon during a lunar eclipse is always circular. Ships disappear hull first over the horizon. The North Star sits higher in the sky the further north you travel. Logic. That's all it took. No satellites, no rocket ships. Just looking carefully at the world and thinking hard about what you were seeing. And then Eratosthenes, around 240 BCE, did something almost impossibly clever. He knew that on one specific day each year, the sun shone straight down into a well in the city of Syene in Egypt. No shadow at all. But on that same day in Alexandria, 500 miles north, a vertical stick cast a shadow. He measured the angle of that shadow, about 7 degrees, and used it to calculate the circumference of the entire Earth. He was off by less than 2%, with a stick and a well, in 240 BCE. If that doesn't make you feel a little humbled by ancient humans, I don't know what will. So here's the full picture. 300,000 years ago, the world was a 30-mile radius and everything beyond it was unknown. 25,000 years ago, someone carved a valley into a mammoth tusk and invented the external map. 6,000 years ago, merchants and empires needed maps to move money and armies, so the world started getting drawn in clay and ink. 2,500 years ago, Greek thinkers figured out the planet was round using nothing but shadows and logic. And 2,200 years ago, a man with a stick calculated the size of that round planet to within 2% accuracy. All of this before a single photograph was ever taken of Earth from space. Remember that image from the beginning? Waking up with no map, no GPS, no sense of where you end and the world begins? Ancient humans didn't see that as a problem to be solved. It was just reality. And within that reality, they built mental maps, carved physical ones, sailed off edges they weren't sure existed, and reasoned their way to the shape of the planet using geometry and wells. The world didn't get bigger. Our picture of it just got clearer. And the thing is, in a way, you're still doing exactly what they did. Every time you learn a new neighborhood, navigate a new city, or figure out where you are from context clues alone, you're running the same ancient software. The map is just a little more detailed now. We're all still trying to figure out where we are. We always have been. If that made your brain do something interesting, stick around. There's a lot more where that came from.